Good Thursday evening, everybody. David Paul with you here in the KHOU Love Weather Center. This is our 9 o'clock tropical update. We're quiet as a mouse out there, and it looks like that for the foreseeable future. We're going to go over everything going on and all the stats for this time of the year. And really the biggest one is that early season, if we're going to see development, it's usually here. Northwest Carib, Gulf, up the East Coast. If you'll remember, Arthur was a storm in the Pacific that crossed over Central America, a remnant circulation, got in across the southern Gulf, did not develop, came inland, and then just poked its nose out in the Gulf right here and developed into a tropical storm. Hit Galveston, but by the time it hit Galveston, all the storms had been blown off to the east by some very strong wind shear, so we just kind of had a breezy day. That's the story of Arthur. That's the only system we've had, but it developed right where you'd expect it to develop in the early season. I just want to compare and contrast that to when we get into September, into the peak month of hurricane season. It's wide open. Main development region out in the open Atlantic. Sometimes they'll develop right off the Cape Verde Islands and then have those long track storms that can become very, very powerful. But you don't have to have it form off the Cape Verde Islands to become a powerful storm. You can still have one develop here that can become a Cat 5 in the Gulf. So that's where we are, early season, and early season is quite often quiet, and it has been. And you're just looking at the stats of early season, here we are, the 2nd of July, we're still in the zone where there's very little activity, but not zero activity. But very little activity usually is what we get, and that's what we've got out there. There are several factors that go into that. The dust, strong trade winds this time of the year, sea surface temperatures still warming up. You got to get into August 15th through about the end of October. That's the meat of hurricane season. We've had Arthur, as I mentioned. After that, we've been quiet, waiting on Bertha and Cristobal. And quite often we have to wait all the way until the end of August to get storm number 2, and then things can really take off. So just because we have very quiet, second half of June, July, first half of August, doesn't mean things can't pick right up. The open Gulf is quiet, Carib's quiet, and this is really nice going into a 4th of July weekend. We don't have to worry about the tropics. I still want you to get a daily update, but we don't have to worry about the tropics this 4th of July. We can just go out and enjoy it, and the weather looks good. And we're going to look at our 4th of July forecast here for Houston in just a moment. But the bottom line is it's very nice to have a quiet picture in the tropics going into a holiday weekend. Dust is a major player, one of the major players in keeping storms, a lid on the storm count early in the season. May, June, July is dust season, if you will. We get a lot of dust coming off the Sahara, follows the trade winds out into the open Atlantic. Most of that settles at about 5,000 feet. It's a layer of dry, sinking air. Dry, sinking air, exactly the opposite of what you need to get tropical systems going. So it literally just puts a lid on development. And even if you have a system that's going, if it encounters dust, it can pull in dry air into the storm and weaken it rapidly. But we don't even have that. But I wanted to show you, look at where the dust is by next Friday, by July 10th. Just wave after wave of dust coming off of Africa, stretches from Africa all the way to Texas and Mexico by Friday. So that is a factor in the model showing no activity. And going into the end of next week, Friday, July 10th, going into the weekend of the 11th and 12th, we may have quite a bit of dust come into Texas and Houston, be our second or third round of dust for the season. We look at this every update. These are the two big ones, the American and the Euro, looking for any potential development. We're going to look out 10 days. Between now and Sunday, Monday, quiet. Here's the development region we're looking for if it's going to impact the Houston area. And nothing out here. What we would need to see is something that looked like this developing on the models, and we'd see absolutely nothing like that. We can go further out in time, going into next Tuesday, 7th, the 8th, going to the 9th. It's a good example. You've got area of low pressure depicted by the American and the Euro, so they're on to low pressure forming up here off the coast of Newfoundland. But this is North Atlantic non-tropical low heading for Iceland and eventually Great Britain. And we can go further out all the way to next Sunday, the 12th. Quiet. We take it one day at a time. Modeling has its limitations. You never know when something's going to sneak in. So just get an update once a day, but at least for now, the modeling long range has absolutely nothing going on. So we can enjoy our weekend, and let's just look at the 7-day for Houston. Friday, 20% chance for an isolated shower, low to mid 90s, 95, firecracker hot, if you will, with heat indexes as high as 105 to 106. So it's going to be hot and humid Saturday and Sunday, but classic Houston summer weather for perhaps the most classic 4th of July that we'll get with celebrating 250 years of the United States. If we get a shower Saturday afternoon, it'll all come to an end long before the fireworks are going to go off Saturday night. So that's looking really good. And no big changes coming. We stay in the low to mid 90s. Every now and then we'll get a few scattered showers, but nothing really jumps out. No weather impact alerts or anything like that. And we're staying below heat advisory criteria as well. So enjoy Friday and the weekend. And our next live broadcast is on KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock. We'll see you then for a live update.